So, hello everyone. I'm really sorry that I'm not static here, standing, because what I will be talking about today is something that really excites me, and I cannot just stand here and talk about it. So, I'm here today to talk about, Stratum version 2. So, Stratum version 2 is a next generation mining protocol, and hopefully, by the end of this presentation, you will realize why it matters, why it is important, and why we need to push it as soon as possible. So, a little bit about myself. I'm the guy on Twitter, Pavlenex. I work on a lot of open source projects. My most work is in BTCPay Server, which is an open source payment processor. And I'm also very lucky to be able to work with Spiral, which gives me grant to work on, Bitcoin design and Stratum version 2 as well. Besides these projects that I'm involved in, I also founded a non-profit organization called Bitcoin Smiles, which fundraises money to get dentistry to people in El Salvador. So we managed to get complete dentures for over 50 people in El Salvador. And then we also managed to roll out that program to the kids in schools to get them prepared for the future, because dignity is what matters, and we want kids, elderly people, to have as much of that as possible. So I also co-founded a local community in Serbia, 21, and what we do is basically, educate people about Bitcoin. So quite a lot of stuff, but today I'm here to talk about Stratum version 2, and that's a mining protocol. So I guess the first question is, what's a mining protocol? And for those of you who don't know, like any other protocol, a mining protocol basically decides a set of rules, a set of communication rules between mining pools, miners, proxies, to contribute hash rate to the Bitcoin network. So it's not different than any protocol, let's say. But what's so good about it is that if we look at the history of mining protocols, we did have Bitcoin client, we did have get work and get block template, and now we have Stratum version 1, also known as Stratum. But to differ between these two, one is Stratum version 1, the other, the better, and one I hopefully will get you excited is Stratum version 2. So Stratum version 1 is the protocol used today, and it's been adopted since 2012, which is crazy. So if you take it into consideration that it's 10 years since we did a change to the mining protocol, you must ask yourself, is Stratum version 1 that perfect? We don't need any upgrade to it? Does it make sense to even have anything else? And hopefully, my slides and myself will persuade you and, build a good use case for Stratum version 1. It's been made by Slush, so since then, it's been in use. And if we take a very simple metric as a hash rate, if you take a look at it, the growth of it we had is insane. And since 2012, nothing changed, nothing. And 2012 and today, we're in a completely different industries where basically mining is now a huge industrial undertaking. So, there is no way that it's been optimized for today, right? And yeah, so I will give a good case. But first, I want to also say that I'm not bashing Stratum version 1. I think for the time, it was an awesome improvement. But as you can see here, so basically we have a mining device which communicates to the non-standardized proxy. And I will explain that in a moment. But basically, the communication between all of these devices, and I'm sure that maybe some of you will be shocked, are unencrypted in plain text. Miners may today, for the future, for 2022, communicate in JSON RPC, in plain text, so that anybody can read the communication. Well, including the attacker, right? So, first attack vector here is that obviously an attacker can just intercept the connection. They can even act as a pool, basically, so that you as a miner would have no idea if you're mining to a proper pool. But more importantly, they would be able to steal the hash rate. And this is, mining pools won't tell you this, but this is a very common attack. But if a mining pool today would say, somebody hijacked our hash rate, so we are not really a good mining pool. We don't care too much about security. Of course, they wouldn't say that. So it's something that mining pools keep quiet about. But theoretically, and I witnessed this in practice because somebody contacted me a few weeks back that there is somebody trying to intercept their connection. So you have miners, you have non-standardized proxy, because proxy is very important. It aggregates all the communication and sends it to the pool server. Okay, that's all good, but one question that I always ask, I guess, newcomers, and that they always blown away, like, pew, mind blown, how? Is when I ask them, do you know who actually includes transactions in the block? And people would usually, and I'm sure some of you here would say, miners get to pick which transactions get included into block. Well, I don't want to ruin the fun, but it's not actually the miners that include transactions. It's the mining pool, a handful of entities picking a transaction. For all of us, of course. And, of course, individual miners, but yeah, the percentage of those is not, I guess, as high. So, to recap on Stratum V2 inefficiencies, like data flow is plain text, it's obviously vulnerable to man-in-the-middle attack, it's not authenticated, and so insecure for miners. Data bandwidth as well, so it's been made to be human readable, and machines, of course, are way better with having a binary format. So it takes a lot of time to serialize and deserialize these messages, so it's not as optimized, really. And also good thing is that, bad thing, well, I guess, for V1, but good thing for V2 is that it's not standardized, so proxy is not part of the, I guess, the specs. Which is weird, because all of the mining pools need proxies in order to aggregate all of these communications. So it not being included means that it's left for interpretation. So anybody can just implement it any way they want. They spend a lot of effort on it, and there is no real standard for it. So, and I think the main point I will try to make today is that it's prone to censorship. So this means that the pools that selects transactions that go on chain, and I really want you to think about this and just think about the possibilities with all the recent things that have been going on with another chain, with Tornado Cash and things like that. We really need to build protocol that will immediately set us for success, and so that we are actually able to be uncensorable. So, luckily, SV2 fixes this. It's encrypted, authenticated, standardized because proxy is part of the specs, flexible, optimized, and democratized. I just want to give a big shout out to SV2 original creators, which is Moravec, Jan, and of course Blue Matt. So SV2 fixes all of this inefficiencies of the SV1. And a complete configuration of the SV2 would mean that we have mining firmware with SV2 enabled, we have SV2 proxy. What is great is that in a complete configuration, we will have template provider, which is something, and I see Gloria is here, that we need to have in the Bitcoin core, and we have a PR ready for that. We are rewriting it in C++ because it was earlier in Rust, but we'll have that one ready hopefully soon, and then we'll talk about the implementation of it. So basically, a miner would run a node and be able to pick transactions that go into the block. So they will be able to negotiate it with the pools this time. Which also means that you can easier detect if the pools are censoring now, because you're also running your own node. So right now it is very hard to detect that. I don't know if it's even possible, but okay. There are two adoption paths, and I really want to emphasize this because there are a lot of confusion. When I talk about SV2, most people would say, yeah, it's a brains thing, slash pool. We don't really want to implement it. It's a power play by slash, even though it's really that argument really doesn't make sense. Actually, there are two implementations. So if you look at the Lightning Network, it has multiple implementations. So does SV2. So the first one is implementation by Brains, and the second one is the implementation that I'm involved with. So we're a complete implementation, completely open sourced, and of course free. So let's take a look very quickly of how Brains uses SV2, formerly known as Slush. So they have SV2 firmware on their devices. They are communicating directly to the pool. So there is no proxy, but they are also selecting the transactions themselves on the pool. So they implemented it, a portion of it, a portion of the SV2, but basically they got advantage of encryption and some data, bandwidth saving, but they are not getting full, I guess, complete implementation of Stratum. So the one I will be referring throughout this presentation, and I see that I've been talking a lot, so I will try to keep things quick, is an independent, community-run, fully open source implementation on Stratum V2. And we are actually so focused on coding it that we don't even have a website. But we will have that soon, which will hopefully, like any legit project, you know that we're legit when we don't have a website to present anything. But this is coming very soon. I promise we'll have an awesome website. Bitcoin Design Community is helping us design it, which will hopefully explain all of these things that I'm ranting about or yelling about now in the weird accent. But, so our roadmap is right now to have MVP configuration, which would allow devices running SV1 firmware to actually use SV2. So Rachel Riberchuk from Galaxy actually has a PR which will be merged in 3 to 4 weeks, and this will be our MVP candidate. And afterwards, we want to invite early adopters to actually test Stratum V1. We want it tested, stabilized, optimized, and like long-term picture is complete Stratum integration, and let's fucking go. So once again, here is a complete configuration. I'm a little bit out of time, but yeah, basically just memorize that this is, there are so many configurations possible, like 8 to 9 maybe, but this one is like complete, where you will get most about most security, most performance, and of course most democratized transaction selection. So our very short-term milestone, and I would like to, I've saw lots of miners here, maybe some mining pools. Please come talk to me, because we do need early adopters, because without users, we cannot really push this forward as soon as possible. And it's obviously a danger that we need Stratum V2 at this point, considering all the things that are happening. So hopefully, we will roll out in few phases. Like first, we will have like testings on testnet. Reg test, of course, first, but testing it on mainnet requires your guys' help and a little bit of hash rate that you can borrow us, because we're just the developers, we're not really miners. So this is how our MVP configuration of SV2 would look like. As you can see, there is SV1 firmware, so we don't really have to push hard to manufacturers to implement SV2. We can use all of the advantages, I mean most of the advantages with just them having a translator which will translate connection from SV1 to SV2, and then have SV2 pool server, where, for example, in the beginning, the pool will be one selecting the transactions. But as we roll things out, get things merged, hopefully, in the Bitcoin core, then we will be able to aim towards a complete, I would say, configuration. So, as I said, when you consider all of the things that I maybe ranted and talked about, yell about, I don't know about you guys, but to me, SV2, and I'm biased, is one of the single, if not the most important thing that we need to get into Bitcoin in order to make it completely uncensorable. And I don't know about you, but I come from Serbia, a very small country where we did have history of getting our property confiscated. I mean, I can go into that and explain how former government confiscated the property of my grandfather, but so, I mean, it is very important to me for Bitcoin to remain uncensorable, and Stratum V2 will allow that. So what can you do to help? Maybe if you like my presentation or think that it is important, of course, first do your own research. Don't trust just me and my accent, which is weird. But as a user, you can spread the word. Just alert people about it. Try to learn as much as you can about Stratum V2. If you're a miner, obviously explore SV2, test it, post feedback. Just bug us, please. If there is some questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. We have a Discord channel, so just contact me and, let's talk. We want more people, more eyes on this. Mining pools, of course, can help us test, become early adopters, as I said, maybe publicly signal for support so that other entities will see that SV2 matters to them, right? Rust developers, since I forgot to mention, but the implementation that we are making is in Rust. So if you're a Rust developer, please come to our Discord channel. There is a very nice community of developers building this. some of them are funded to work on it full time. So, and none of us are funded by a single entity. So there are a few entities that are funding SV2 open source implementation that we are working on. And yeah, if you're a non-contributor, come on, there is so much things that you can do. Help us with the content, help us design website, educate people about it, and so on. So we did have quite a few non-contributors who helped us build content for website. We had the designers helping us design it, and we had developers who helped us build the website itself. And that is very important, and hopefully, as I said, it will be launched very soon. So I know that I have a little bit more time, but I would really like to give shout out to all of these guys that you can see here. FI3, Rachel, which is our GigaChat developer, Chris, Lorenzo, and other guys as well. So for SSO, also thank for still Lee for constantly pushing me to explore things and learn. Thanks to original creators of SV2, companies that are supporting. Also thanks to BTCPay Server because they aren't mad when I'm working on Stratum and not BTCPay. And I forgot to include, and I know that they will rage at me, Bitcoin design community, my wonderful colleagues, which are helping so many open source projects in this space. So shout out to all of them as well. I guess that's it. We do have a GitHub, we do have a Twitter, website is coming, so just follow us on Twitter. And yeah, let's try to see, learn, and hopefully get this implemented. And with that said, I do have a little bit of time left, but yeah, let's open it up for questions if there's any. Thank you. Thank you.
What are the incentives of the mining pools to implement Stratum V2?
Responsibility. So if somebody would like to censor you, you would just say it's not us, it's miners, and you can accept all of their proposals, which is what we do by default. So you're basically giving out responsibility, and that's what mining pools want. If in case you don't want to become evil and censor people, just give responsibility directly to the users. Of course, we can just talk about security and all things, but I think that just handing out that responsibility can be a big incentive.
Yes, thank you. But don't you think that in the future, big governments can try to prevent mining pools from implementing this?
You mean like government entities?
Yes, those who want to censor transactions.
Yes, but that's why we need to push this as soon as possible and getting running. We have a protocol that set us for success, so that's why there is an increasing urgency to get this merged, and not merged, ready and tested, because when they come, we will be ready.
That's great to hear. Yeah.
Are there any disincentives to adopt SV2?
No, not really, not that I know, because if you look how outdated SV1 is, I would say really there aren't. It encrypts, it gives security to people, it democratizes blocks transaction selections, so I only see pros, but I'm sure as we test things out, get it adopted by mining pools, there might be things that will improve along the way. And there are even, I forgot to talk about this, but there is a proposal that guys are working on which will allow non-custodial mining payouts as well, which is not really part of the protocol, but maybe we'll add it as well. It's still in research exploratory phase, but it will hopefully give a one more plus to all this censorship resistance.
Thank you. I also agree this is one of the most important things for decentralization in Bitcoin. There was a slide where you kind of maybe hand-waved over the first step being that the pool manager is still creating the block template. And then, yeah, this slide. Yes. Can you maybe go into more detail about what the process is for moving from that to the decentralization step where all the miners are creating their own templates?
Yeah, quite honestly, it's just that we need to get it finished and create a PR in Bitcoin Core and then get feedback from you guys. We do have an open PR, but we decided it uses a little bit of too much Rust code, and we don't want that, so we're rewriting it C++. So hopefully we'll have everything perfectly ready for you guys to review and provide feedback. But basically, we are just making baby steps here because miners that are running SV1 firmware can use this, and we just want them to try things out as we are preparing that PR in the core.
Okay, and then follow-up question, what do the changes look like for Bitcoin Core, just for planning?
Yeah, so I'm probably not the good guy to ask this question, but there is a developer, Chris, collaborating with Matt Corallo as well, and I would be happy to follow up with you. I guess after the talk I can ping them to answer any specific questions, but I have not been following up on that one, sorry.
Cool, thank you.
Thanks, Gloria.
Do you think mining pool will want to adopt this quickly, or do they want to keep Stratum V1? Because there is the fact that today mining pool have Stratum V1, they can push some transaction, right? So they can use that as a source of profit. Of course, if mining pool have the long-term vision, you know, they should adopt this because in the long term it's better, but in the short term they may make more profit because now they can organize transaction, you know, they can, someone can pay them to push a transaction sooner with lower fee when the network is congested. So how do you, I don't know, maybe my first question is, do you know that mining pool, you know, how many want to adopt this already? Is there some signaling about that? And
yes.
do you see some pushback against some that want to profit in the short term?
You know, Stratum, we've been talking about it for 2 or 3 years. There wasn't really a community-run implementation. You know, there wasn't really need for it until now that all the censorship is coming along and all the potential risk. And we do have, I probably cannot maybe say out publicly, but we do have quite a few already pools that are willing to test things for us. So the support is expanding, and hopefully when we have the website, we will publish their support because, yeah, other mining pools don't trust, nobody's using it, that's how they see it. But once you see that there are actually entities, we have Foundry, Galaxy that is actually funding developers to work on this. So they indeed consider it important. And Foundry in particular will be our early adopter as well. So they want this as well.
Hi, thanks for your talk. My question is like in a long-term view where there are pools that implement Stratum V2 with the possibility for the miner to pick up the transaction by himself. My question is like, let's consider a miner which is kind of cynical. He doesn't care about censorship or whatever. He just wants to earn money. Does this miner in the long-term view have an incentive to prefer a pool that implements Stratum V2 over Stratum V1 without caring about the censorship stuff, just economic incentives?
Yeah, economic incentive is as well that it's way better optimized because it's binary, so you're getting a lot of saving in bandwidth as well. So they will have better performance. That's one of the advantages. So there is no really thing why not adopt SB2.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for your talk. And you have any feedback directly from the miners themselves?
From the pools? Yeah. So as I said, we still need to launch our MVP and then basically iron it out based on their feedback. So in 3 to 4 weeks, we will have a very basic MVP configuration, and then they will test it, give it back feedback to us, and we really hope in the next few months we'll have things ready for them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.